Johannesburg, South Africa's highest court ruled on Friday that Parliament had failed to hold President Jacob Zuma accountable in a long-running corruption case, putting pressure on the weakened leader to resign as his party tries to reinvent itself. The Constitutional Court ruled that Parliament, which is dominated by Mr. Zuma's African National Congress and has stood behind the scandal-plagued president during his 8 years in office, had failed to properly investigate Mr. Zuma's conduct when it voted last year not to impeach him. The Assembly did not hold the president to account as was required by a section of the Constitution that deals with the president's removal, Judge Chris Jafta said in handing down the court's judgment. The court ordered lawmakers to create rules to regulate a president's impeachment, a move that makes it more likely that ANC leaders will try to force Mr. Zuma's removal as president, to avoid the distraction and embarrassment of potentially impeaching a lame duck leader. The ruling was a blow for the party, which less than 2 weeks ago chose a new leader, Cyril Ramaphosa, in a bid to clean up its image and regroup ahead of elections in 2019. Mr. Zuma's term as the nation's president ends with national elections scheduled for 2019. But since Mr. Ramaphosa's victory, there have been rumblings inside the ANC that Mr. Zuma should be compelled to step down sooner and make way for Mr. Ramaphosa, to give the party time to repair its reputation. The ruling adds to the cumulative pressure on the ANC leadership to act, said Somadoda Fikani, a political analyst. Heading into the elections in 2019, they can ill afford to have a president fighting for his life, with potentially embarrassing revelations during parliamentary impeachment proceedings, while the ANC is trying to rebrand itself. In internal ANC elections this month, Mr. Zuma was rebuked by his own party when it elected Mr. Ramaphosa, who had rallied anti-Zuma forces. Mr. Zuma had strongly backed the losing candidate, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, a veteran politician, and his former wife. Under Mr. Zuma, the once heroic Party of Liberation became identified with graft and incompetence. Former core supporters, especially in urban areas, abandoned the ANC last year during local elections as the governing party lost control over most of the nation's metropolitan areas. The ruling by the Constitutional Court revolved around a long-running scandal that had come to symbolize the Zuma administration's deeply rooted corruption and disregard for South Africa's democratic institutions, his misuse of public funds for upgrades to his homestead in Gandla, about 300 miles southeast of Johannesburg. Last year, the court ruled that Mr. Zuma had violated the constitution by refusing to pay back some of the money. But his party quickly closed ranks and defeated a motion by opposition lawmakers to impeach him. In September, opposition parties led by the left-wing Economic Freedom Fighters argued in the Constitutional Court that the ANC-led parliament had acted unconstitutionally by not investigating Mr. Zuma's unconstitutional conduct.